Welcome to the Blogger Genius Podcast, brought to you by Milo Tree. Here's your host, Jillian Leslie.
Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the Blogger Genius Podcast. I'm your host, Jillian Leslie. I am a blogger and a serial entrepreneur. We started, my husband and I, our journey in 2009 when we created Catch My Party. We just switched it over today to back to school content. So if you're looking for anything like that, head over there. We launched our pop-up app in 2016, which so many of you use to grow your social media followers and email subscribers, and it is easy. And now we've launched Milo Tree Cart, which is, again, the easiest way for bloggers, creators, coaches to sell digital products to their audiences. I like to share updates on what I'm learning. And this week, I was on a call with a food blogger who is a gluten-free baker. And she set up an ebook and it started selling. And I said, my friend, you have found gold. Go deeper. So she said, okay, so I need to do another ebook. And I said, what is something that people constantly ask you about? And she said, starters. I said, okay, how about doing a paid workshop, a 1-hour paid workshop as a way to test to see if people will come on starters? And she said, yeah, but it's all over YouTube. So shouldn't it be something a little fancier? And I said, trust me, people want basic and everything's on YouTube. So if you can present yourself as an expert, somebody people trust, then chances are you could sell this. Now she's going to try, she's going to test it, and I will keep you posted. And a workshop is a great second product off of an ebook. You do your ebook, you see people are interested, and then you figure out a very basic topic and teach it for an hour on Zoom. And if 2 people sign up, I told her this, please do the workshop because you will have the recording and then you can sell it as a mini course with Milo Tree Cart. This is how you build your digital product empire. This is going to be even more important in the world of AI. We're going to talk about it in today's episode. So for today's episode, I'm interviewing Marley Braunlich from the food blog called Baked Abundance. And she's a relatively new food blogger. However, she is sharp. And now we're going to say 3 topics we talk about. 1, SEO, what that means today. And as a new food blogger, how she thinks about it, because she started her food blog business first, not hobby first. 2, we talk about tools and strategies for using AI to help her create content faster. And 3, we talk about her Instagram strategies because she has a very big Instagram page. So if you are a food blogger, I think you're going to find this fascinating. And if you are not a food blogger, I still think you're going to find this fascinating. So without further delay, here is my interview with Marley Braunlich. Marley, welcome to the Blogger Genius Podcast.
Thank you for having me, Jillian. It's so nice to chat with you.
So you are a food blogger and you reached out to me and you said, I've got some interesting things to share. We're going to talk about how you do keyword research. But before we launch into that, will you just share your entrepreneurial journey and how you got into food blogging and where you are today?
Definitely. So I kind of started food blogging with just a passion for baking. Like a lot of other people during the pandemic, I was just baking and cooking a ton at home and really learned to love it and trying new things. So I decided I wanted to start a food blog. I knew nothing about food blogging at all. I didn't know anything about SEO or keyword research. So I was really starting kind of just with my own knowledge of like marketing and social media, and not really the information I needed to know as a food blogger.
No,
so
wait, in a previous life, were you a marketer? Were you inherently online?
Definitely. I went to school for marketing and I had a couple of marketing positions, both internships and a full-time position after I graduated. And then actually during college, I also had a personal blog that I shared all kinds of things on. But again, I didn't really know anything about growing my traffic. And it was more like a hobby blog, but I definitely was into social media. During the pandemic, I started an Etsy company and I was selling like homemade goods as well. So I definitely have that entrepreneurial spirit. And I'm really glad it's landed me with food blogging because that really is my passion today.
Okay, so you decided to lean into baking with your food blog.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And like what's interesting is that in a weird way, by you starting fresh, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, that you have an advantage to us old school bloggers because we have a lot of craft. And we started at a time before it was this sense of you do keyword research and you back into what an audience might be interested in. It was like I'd wake up in the morning and be like, oh, what should I blog about today? And having gone through our Catch My Party blog, which has been around since 2009, I'm incredibly embarrassed by the first 100 blog posts. And two, I've had to delete a lot of that content because it's kind of holding us down. It's like a big anchor. So in a weird way, you starting fresh, knowing how to do this as a business, thinking about all of these things at the get-go, I think gives you a big advantage.
Definitely. I think it helps speed things up a little bit since you are starting with, most people are starting with more of that business mindset, doing some keyword research, maybe talking to other people and starting to figure out what SEO is. And maybe just a year in, they're kind of learning all those things and applying them to their business. And they can grow a lot faster that way. But I also think there's a lot more competition now too. And I wish I could just write about whatever I wanted. That would be amazing.
So where is your blog now? Like is it a full-time income for you? Are you working with sponsors? What is your niche? And how are you monetizing your food blog?
Definitely. My food blog is both traditional and allergy-friendly recipes, and that's kind of my focus. It is fairly broad, but it just is kind of based off of my own family. Some of us are maybe gluten-free or egg-free, but then others can eat anything. So I like kind of having a little bit of a mix there because I feel like most people's families might be the same way. And I don't want to exclude, anyone from my recipes if I can provide a gluten-free option or an egg-free option. So that's kind of what I focus on there. My blog currently is not with an ad network or anything like that. I'm still just working on growing my traffic. I think I launched my blog in August of 2021. So it's still relatively new for me, and it's just something I do on the side while I work full time in SEO. So trying to really balance that work.
You work full time in SEO?
Yes, I work for an SEO agency, and that's my 9 to 5. So I try to work on the blog outside of that, but I started this new job right a month after I launched my website. And so it was kind of really funny timing, and I was able to really gain that new understanding of SEO and start to apply that to my website and also assist other blogger friends or coaching clients with it.
So let's talk about SEO and
Definitely.
the secrets that you know that we might not know.
Okay, let's do it. I would say that really SEO basics is going to be the foundation for anybody. Whenever I started, I didn't even really know what heading structure was. That is just really boiling it down to the basics, 1H1 followed by H2s followed by H3s. You want to make sure that your blog post format is structured properly and that you aren't having multiple H1s. Even with a lot of my clients, depending on who designs the website, every single heading might be an H1, and you're okay, whoa, gotta fix this. We only need one H1. So really just starting with the basics, understanding the keyword research, making sure your title tags and H1s are optimized is a great place to start.
And okay, so it's funny because on Catch My Party, when our designer designed our site, our H3s, our kind of H4s look better than our H3s. And my VA, who's a designer, doesn't like our H3s. So she'd be using H4s instead of H3s. And then we did an audit and it was all this has to change because Google isn't thinking about the fact that our H3s don't look that good. Our H4s look better, and so in our page structure, if you look at the actual structure, we'd be getting kind of dinged. We'd be getting a report saying, oh, structure's this is wrong. And so we had to go back and make sure that H2 is, follows the H1. I mean, it's so stupid. And it seems so, and it was funny because when I had to tell this to my assistant, I could see it kind of violated her design, skills. And I'm like, no, we have to do this because of Google. So it's just funny that way that was something that we just chose as like a design choice. And yet, no, Google wants things served up in a very specific way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very interesting. I think sometimes at the site level, you're able to kind of influence the look of those H2s, H3s, H4s, and kind of just change it across the board. So that could maybe be an option, but that's an interesting story. You definitely want to have everything. You want to have the right sizes, matching the right types of
talk to me
heading.
about what you mean by title tag. What is that? How should you optimize this?
The title tag holds the most weight for SEO. So whatever your article or post is on, you want to have the highest volume phrase in the front of your title tag.
So where is my title tag? Where are people finding this?
The title tag is the clickable link that you can see in the Google search results. And on your website, if you're using something like WordPress with maybe a Yoast plugin, that's exactly where you're going to edit your title tag. So if you're using Yoast, you can just scroll down to the bottom of your post, and whatever you're using will typically have a section where you can add title tag, meta description. And so for the title tag, you can, remove what they're automatically putting in there and then just optimize it with that highest volume keyword phrase that's like your root phrase for your post.
But here's the thing. Do I want to go after, though, like a high traffic keyword? Or do I want to be more strategic and go after a low competition keyword?
Mm-hmm. So whenever I say high volume keyword in the front of your title tag, that would be after you're already doing all that keyword research for your post. So if you were taking a more strategic angle and you kind of looked at all the competition, you looked at kind of the top sites that were ranking for that phrase already in Google, then you kind of narrow that down. And of those remaining phrases you're choosing that you think you can rank for, whatever is the highest volume of that, you would put in the title tag, and then maybe the same or a similar variation in the H1, and then those smaller volume keywords that are like semantic or related keywords in H2s and H3s.
Now, here's a question. If I'm using Yoast and I'm using the free version of Yoast, do I need to get it to green?
Definitely not. That is one of my favorite things to kind of debunk. Whenever I started, I was trying to get everything to green. I didn't even know anything, and I was using Yoast, and I was adding like the weirdest things to my title tags and H1s because it was trying to give you recommendations. And so you're adding like all these different modifiers to the front, and it just like amazing, delicious chocolate chip cookie recipe. And like, you do not need that in the front of your title tag. You want it to be accurate and not just messy. So don't follow all of the things with Yoast. You don't have to worry about getting every single thing green. And you just don't really have to worry about it. If you have some oranges and reds, like you're going to be okay as long as you're following SEO best recommendations.
And that Google's gotten smart. So Google can understand the context of what you're writing without you having to put your keyword in 24 times.
Exactly. And it's better to use different variations as well. You want to make sure you have all of those different related keywords in there too.
So let's talk about tools you use, both at work and for your blog. And maybe there's overlap and what you recommend when you set out to go, okay, I'm going to write an optimized post.
Mm-hmm. So you want to make sure you're using some kind of tool for keyword research. I personally use SEMrush. That's what I use at my job, and then also for my blog. And I know some other food bloggers use Key Search. I'm sure other bloggers could use that one as well. I think those are two of like the most popular options. And then there's some other ones that I'm sure other people use. But I like SEMrush for now. It's fairly easy to use. You can see, competition like you mentioned, and kind of use it to look at your competitors' websites as well. So SEMrush is a really good one. Of course, anyone with a website is going to want to look at Google Analytics and Google Search Console. And I also use Trello or Asana for kind of like project management tasks.
Okay, so now SEMrush is expensive. So that can be tricky. And one thing that I hope they're not listening to this, but you and a friend might go in on an account together, you trust each other and stuff like that. But you are looking for, when you go into SEMrush, what exactly are you looking for?
Definitely.
So let's go through a post. Give me a post of something either you recently wrote or you're about to write, and let's break it down.
Okay, definitely. I will do one of my recent cookie recipes. I've been publishing lots and lots of cookies. So one recipe I wanted to do was caramel chocolate chip cookies. So if you were trying to just think of other types of chocolate chip cookie recipes to make, that would be the root phrase you would start with in there. And then you would really need to utilize all the different filters to narrow that down to recipes that you could rank for, and then also find variations. So one thing I like to do with keyword research is get ideas for recipes I can make. So sometimes I know I want to use something like this is another one on my list, would be dried lavender. But I'm like, what are people even looking for if they want to use dried lavender in either baking or some kind of recipe? So maybe you could type lavender recipe and then sort it by a certain keyword difficulty, like under 35 or just in like an easier range. Start seeing what's going to come up for that. It's going to be a mix of lavender queries. It could be lavender lotion recipe, but then it also could be lavender lemonade recipe. And then maybe you can identify that one as something you could put in your food blog.
So were you just like, I'm interested in the lavender flavor, so I'm going to start there? So that was some inspiration from your life or your flavor profile, that kind of thing. So it's not like you do get a say in, hey, I want to make cookies, but I'm not just going to make or I want to make chocolate chip cookies, but not just any kind of chocolate chip cookies. I'm going to let SEMrush give me some ideas, and then I'm going to pick from them.
Yes, exactly. So whenever you're a new blogger, especially, or if you just want to write something that everybody is going to have a post for, if it feels like you really, really want to write it anyway, go for it. But like, let's say just plain chocolate chip cookies might not be something that I'm going to rank for because there's already 10 other sites and really popular, pages that are already talking about that. And they've had a ton of backlinks to that page and they have 400 reviews. It's just going to be really hard to compete. So then you go into other things like caramel chocolate chip cookies or eggless chocolate chip cookies is another really interesting one. And then even using some of those dietary restrictions because maybe less people are looking for a gluten-free and vegan cookie than just a chocolate chip cookie.
So, okay. So you get your idea, you're going to do caramel chocolate chip cookies. And then how are you doing this? How are you breaking down this post?
Mm-hmm. I kind of identify some additional related phrases in SEMrush. So then you would be kind of using variations of that top phrase, which is caramel chocolate chip cookies. And you would do like caramel stuffed chocolate chip cookies, chocolate chip cookies with caramel, and just trying to get like all of those different related phrases like store-bought caramels, soft caramels, salted caramel. And so just incorporating that into both the copy and other headings.
Okay. And then anything else that you are doing? How about your photographs? How are you optimizing your photos? How many photos are you putting in your post?
Mm-hmm. Honestly, I don't even know how many pictures I'm putting off the top of my head because I do include step-by-step process shots, which is another important way you can stand out just kind of with the rise of AI and just more and more content is going to be published. You want to think about how much value can you add to your post? How can you make it stand out? And if you look at those top results on Google, what do they have in their post? You want to make sure you have, all of that information in yours as well that is unique to you. But then more, like you want to have the best, deepest article you can. And so you're going to look at your competitors, see what they're doing, do that, but do it better. And so step-by-step process shots can be a really nice thing if you have like a craft website or, the food blog and include that for your audience.
Absolutely. I want to reiterate that, yes, you do need to be thinking about your competition. And yes, you need to gamify it. You need to look at what they are doing. You need to copy what they're doing in your own style and then up it. So it's funny because I think as women, we're like, oh no, that's mean. I shouldn't really do that. But I promise you, if you don't do it, other people will do it to you. So it seems cutthroat, and it is cutthroat. I think food blogging especially has gotten the memo that it is targeting other food bloggers' keywords. And that sounds awful and mean, but it is a business. So if you're not going to do it, somebody else is going to do it. Plus, I think we get really like, no, I'm going to do what I want to do. And somehow the Google gods are going to shine their light on me. And it's like, no, it really is about looking at those top posts and going after those posts.
It's interesting to bring up the competitor piece, because not only on Instagram will I notice a lot of people I follow posting very similar types of recipes, or maybe the same idea of a recipe, but their own, spin on it. But doing that competitor research in a tool like SEMrush or Key Search and seeing what your competitors are ranking for can be a really great way to also kind of start that keyword research process and see like what kind of things are out there that I should rank for. If a blog is, similar in terms of domain authority and like how long they've been around and like the types of articles that they post to your own, that could be a really great tool to just kind of capitalize on that as well and make sure when they're showing up, you're showing up too.
I want to take a short break to give you some advice. And this is, please start creating products and putting them out there and working the sales muscle. It is uncomfortable at first. It feels weird. And yet it is something you can get good at. So if you need a product, no problem. Start with an ebook. And to help you, I recommend you download my ebook, which is all about how to use ChatGPT to write an entire ebook and get it up in less than 3 hours. To grab this, go to milotree.com/AI ebook. And once you do it once, it's easy to do again. Remember, selling products is all about testing, putting stuff out there, seeing what people want, learning and iterating. So again, milotree.com/AI ebook. And now back to the show. It is weird because I've had some bloggers I've talked to and they're like, oh my God, there's this other blogger and I post something and boom, like 2 weeks later, she's posting the same thing. And that does suck and it feels bad and it feels cutthroat and it feels cheating, like you're cheating. However, it is kind of the way it's working right now. But this is something that I do want to talk to you about because we were talking about it a little bit before I pressed record, which is AI. And tell me your thoughts about AI and how you are using AI in your business, in your food blog.
Yes, we were already talking about AI a little bit because we both really like it and then also are like keeping the other side in mind as well. So I do use AI both professionally and personally for my blog. As a food blogger, I think AI, like a tool like ChatGPT, would be a great way to create SEO optimized outlines. That's something I've been doing, like just testing out recently and doing a query like an SEO optimized outline with an H1 and H2s on this topic, whatever the topic. And then sometimes I'll put like drop a link of another article that is at the top of the Google search results and say, this is a good example of a post on this topic. And so then that way it's also possibly considering that competitor and what they have in their post and making sure the headings they're going to provide you are actually accurate and relevant to the type of article you want to write. So that's a kind of a sneaky hack, I guess you could try out to create different outlines that are sort of SEO optimized. They're definitely over optimized. ChatGPT will include like the same keyword in majority of the headings. So you want to keep that in mind and just kind of use it as a starting point. And then maybe you can just like pull out related things or kind of just get ideas for different types of sections you might want to have, like benefits, risks, like I don't know, they're seeking advice, other types of articles that might, or headings that might share.
Because here's the thing too, I would right now, if I were doing that, I'd go to Bard because Bard is Google and ChatGPT is, I think, I don't remember what they're like where they have data up until, but it's sometime in 2021. And I feel like Bard now, and all you have to do is type like google.bard.com, I think. And you should probably have, like we now have access to it on our kind of paid Google accounts. Initially, you couldn't get access to it. Now we can, but I would be doing all of my keyword research with AI using Bard, even though I pay for the like paid Chat GPT. I feel like if I want, it's kind of like, if I'm doing video, I want to be on YouTube because YouTube is Google. Like just thinking about it that way, I think is useful. And again, I love that idea of putting in a blog post and saying, hey, it should kind of compete with this kind of post, or to give it an idea to optimize it. So you will do it for your outline. Will you do it for the writing of the sections?
I have tested it for that and I have used some of it. I do it more so for like reasons why someone would like X recipe. And that way, if like, I can't really think of that many different reasons, or if I'm just kind of not in a good writing flow, I can kind of just get some ideas and see what it provides. And so you could do like reasons why people love snickerdoodle cookies or something. And it might say like warming, perfect for the holidays, like great for birthday parties, like, and it just starts to list out all those things, which are things that I feel that I already know. But for me, I'm just thinking about the recipe, taking the photos, getting the post up, what my family and friends had to say about the cookie, which is usually just, it was so good. Like they never really provide like really detailed reviews or anything like that. And then it just starts to get monotonous after doing cookie recipe after recipe after recipe. And you're like, what else can I say about this? So it is helpful for some brainstorming or if you're kind of in a rut. And so I like to use it for things like that. And then my favorite use case for food bloggers specifically, or I guess this could work if you have another like step-by-step type of process that you need to write up, I'll just drop the ingredients to my recipe in ChatGPT and then ask it to write me the recipe instructions, because I just dread writing like, get a mixing bowl, whisk this until mixed thoroughly. Like that's just so boring for me.
So explain,
so it will write out
what does that prompt look like? You'll literally copy will you say like quarter cup of flour? I mean, like 2 cups of flour, whatever. And you put just the ingredients. You're not even saying like.
I say the name of the recipe. So I'd be, for this caramel chocolate chip cookie recipe example, I would just grab my list of ingredients with all the measurements, which you don't really necessarily need the measurements, but I just already have it typed out. So I'll grab that and say, write recipe instructions for caramel chocolate chip cookies. And then I just include the ingredients, and then it writes me a step-by-step recipe instructions. And typically everything's pretty accurate. Like I'll change maybe the oven temperature and like just reword a couple things, maybe remove a step if it added something in there that didn't make sense. But it really flushes it out for the most part for me already, which is like a weird mental hurdle for me to just get the instructions written. And so then I'd rather just like read over them and like proofread and edit than start from scratch. So that's like a fast way to write those up.
That's wonderful. I also use it for FAQs. I will look on Google at like what other questions are asked about whatever this topic is. But if I want some quick FAQs, like, can you freeze the cookies? Or how long are they good? Or what do they go well with? Or, those kinds of substitutions. Can you make a vegan version of this? Whatever it is. But I find FAQs too, it's like one of those things where I'm like, I can't think of FAQs. So I use Google just, in that search result, but then I'm also just asking ChatGPT, what else?
That's a great use case. I also use it for FAQs because I tend to find that those are kind of like the more boring writing. I just am more of like a creative writer. I'd rather write something that's more fun or storytelling. So whenever it comes down to those just super like straight answers that are just freeze cookies for 3 months, like like I just can't write those. So AI is perfect for that.
Okay, so back to the post that we had talked about, and we were just kind of talking, I kind of took us on a direction of talking about AI. Are there other SEO strategies you are using? We were talking about putting variations of whatever your main keyword is, using SEMrush for those ideas. Are there other things? And we talked about putting in, let's say, process shots or putting in your why you would like this or FAQs, those kinds of things? Are there other things you are doing for SEO to, or looking at your competitors? Like what else? Are you doing video, for example?
I'm personally not doing any video on my posts. I want to say I recently listened to another podcast or saw something on a Facebook group, and someone was asking if, video is really going to matter for your blog post. Like, how much does it, how much value does it add, and is it necessary? Do you really need to focus on it? And I want to say that Casey Markey responded to that and said it's like a nice to have. So I do try to get some short form video content for social media. I've thought about, repurposing that and just uploading even the vertical format of that, which I've seen other people do to their websites, which I think would be great if people do watch it. It would increase your watch time if people are watching it, which would increase your time on page, which is great for SEO. So if you have the video content, I would say use it and just make sure it's not slowing down your website and things aren't loading properly. But if you don't have it, I think it's not going to hold you back.
And I would say that if you have video on your site and you're with an ad network, you can make a lot more money by uploading video. And again, you can use, like with AdThrive, for example, we use their video player, but you don't want to embed the video into your blog. You want it to be a YouTube link or your ad network's video player. But there are, from a revenue point of view, there are reasons why you would want video, even though from a user experience, like if I'm doing a recipe, like a video is kind of like, I'm not going to be pausing the video to follow the instructions. I just kind of want to print it out and have it right there while I'm baking or cooking.
A couple other SEO things that I would recommend just making sure you're aware of and taking a look at would be Core Web Vitals. So an easy way to see if you're passing those is to use the Page Speed Insights tool. This kind of goes along with another topic I wanted to hit on, which was kind of things I wish I knew when I started. And one of those things was just investing from the get-go. Whenever I started my website, I had a pretty cheap host, a pretty cheap website theme, and I was failing Core Web Vitals pretty badly. And I recently upgraded to the Feast plugin and the Foodie Pro theme, and now I'm passing Core Web Vitals with flying colors. And it happened, pretty much immediately. So that was a really huge lift in terms of like a technical SEO update. And I would recommend looking at that Page Speed Insights in the Core Web Vitals score.
Yeah, and we recommend that as a food blogger, even a craft blogger. Here's the thing that I think people get hung up on. They get hung up on when seeing their blog on their laptop screen. And they get hung up on their logo and their colors and their fonts. And if somebody is commenting on your logo or your fonts, then you're doing something wrong, because you want them to be interacting with your content. So you want your theme and you want your colors and all that to go to the background. You want your content in the foreground, and most people are coming to your site on mobile. So therefore you've optimized it like crazy for your laptop, or I have a huge desktop, for example, and I do fall into that. I do go, oh, I'm on my site all the time on my desktop thinking this is how people are experiencing it. And they're not. They're looking at it on mobile, which is why you'll go, but all these food blogs look the same. And maybe the structure of their themes are very similar, but the content is what you want to be popping out at people. So that's okay, because on mobile, everything shrinks down anyway. There's very little differentiation on mobile between different themes. So I agree with you, go for fast, optimized themes. And if you are worried about your logo or your brand colors, you're in the wrong direction.
I totally agree with that. And I would even say, with my past experience with other little entrepreneurial pursuits I had that in the end kind of just fell to the wayside, don't spend so much time on branding and logos, because one, you're probably going to end up changing it in like a year because you're not going to like the colors you picked. You're going to have a whole new vision. And it's not the most important thing. Like, I think a lot of times that slows you down and holds you back from even launching a site because you're like waiting to get all of those different like brand colors and everything sorted out. So yeah, definitely don't stress that too much because it's probably going to change. And with all of the food blog sites looking the same, I feel like that was a really fun, interesting point that you made, because I think I noticed that more because I have other friends and like colleagues that have food blogs and they are on the same theme as me. But my mom or my, if someone's sister or someone's friend are probably not visiting all of those different food blogs that use the same template and picking up on that. We're just looking at it because we're looking at our competitors all the time. We're looking at our friends' sites and they all use the same theme. I genuinely don't come across, like in other searches in my daily life, a lot of websites use the same theme. So I wouldn't get hung up on that either.
And I would argue it's kind of like the SUV situation. Have you noticed that virtually all SUVs start to look alike? And then in our minds, we associate that style with SUVs. And so we weirdly get trained to think this is how an SUV should look. So I would say that it might actually work to your advantage, because people will see your food blog that looks like other people's food blogs just in terms of their overall basic structure and be like, oh, this is a food blog I can trust. This is a high quality food blog. So I'm just going to put that out there. I don't know if that's true, but it is, they do talk about this, that over the last 10 years or so, SUVs have all started to resemble each other for that very reason, because people are familiar with this look. And without subconsciously, we think, oh, SUV should look this way.
That's a good point. And I like that you are thinking that maybe it could already kind of automatically give users and visitors to your site just a good feeling of trust when they get to your website, because by having that, more professional website theme that's really fast and effective and like just very clean and modern, a lot of those more successful bloggers are using that similar theme. So if someone's really successful with a similar website and maybe you're brand new, you're already kind of looking like a good competitor to them, to someone else who maybe is discovering you for the first time.
So talk about social media with me. What are you seeing food bloggers doing on social media that might be, say, refreshing or getting results?
I would say that voiceovers are, not everyone does them. And so I think if you do a voiceover with your reel or TikTok video, it does add a really nice element of storytelling, rather than just using music. It is an extra layer to, take the time out of your day to record a little voiceover and put it on there. Maybe not everyone likes to have their voiceover video, but I think that's a really nice way to stand out. And it also kind of, you can tell people more things about the recipe maybe, and pull out those things from your blog post where you already listed variations or substitutions or reasons why people might like it, or holidays that it would be good for. So you could include that in your voiceover and say, here's why this is perfect for your Memorial Day barbecue coming up, and kind of just give more backstory to the recipe.
Right. And you could put subtitles of your voiceover so that people who don't want to listen to sound can at least read along, which I think is how most people are consuming social media content. But it does, you're right, add another layer. The thing that I keep kind of saying over and over again right now is the more you can differentiate yourself, the more you can go, hey, I'm not just the person behind this food blog, but I am Marley. And here's what I believe in. And here's what, how I want to be helpful. And here's a little bit of my story. I think that is going to be even more important as we move forward, especially as a way to stand out from AI. We were talking about that AI has multiple I would say prongs to it. One is, of course, this potential existential threat and that we're all going to ultimately die. I'll try not to go there. Two, it is super helpful for creating content. And if you're not jumping on that, you got to jump on that, because other people are jumping on it and they're going to use it like crazy, or they are. So you've got this great resource to help you churn out content faster. On the flip side, there will be more competition with content. I believe, again, I know nothing, But just based on my own search behavior, I just got this new, my husband, let's see if I can find the name of it. It was like a AI search tool, and I've been using it now, like instead of even Chat GPT. And I'm like, oh, that's really good. Let's see if I can it's called, if I can, Perplexity AI. Free, and it's easy, and it's like just a search tool, kind of like Google. So who knows what's going to happen, but do I believe there will be pressure on traffic? Kind of do. I don't know. I was having this conversation with my husband today, who's my partner, and he's the technologist. And I said, what do you think is going to happen with search traffic? And he said, if I had to bet, I think search traffic will probably go down for everybody across the board. He goes, but I wouldn't be surprised either if it went up. Like, I don't necessarily think that will happen, but if it did happen, I also would go, oh, I could see that. So it's like nobody knows. Anybody who tells you they know, anybody who thinks they can quantify it, please take that with a grain of salt, because things are changing so quickly. My recommendation, as I share all the time, is be turning on different revenue streams and definitely sell products. This is, again, where my Low Tree Cart, our tool for selling digital products, comes in. But please do not just rely on ad revenue. Lots of food bloggers have made a ton of money by leaning into SEO and getting lots of traffic and putting display ads on their blogs. And I think it's going to get rougher out there if that's the only way you're monetizing. So that's why it's like, oh, I am Marley, and Marley has a food blog, rather than, hey, I'm just kind of hiding. I'm just kind of in the back, turning the dials and putting this food blog out there and hoping to do kind of an SEO traffic play.
And if you're worried about traffic going down because of AI, or just, an increase in competition, and maybe you already have ad revenue coming in and like your website's been pretty fully built out, I think a really good place to focus would be your email list. And that's something that, with having kind of a social media audience, I always think about is, most of those people are almost all of those people are not subscribed to my email list. And so if Instagram were someday just to shut down, or something happened, or my account got hacked, what are you going to do with your social media account if you don't control that? So really putting more efforts into your email list could be another great way to, connect with your audience, make sure you still have that control. And you also could monetize that as well if you have some good metrics there and you have a good amount of subscribers.
Absolutely. So be thinking about taking your social media followers and figuring out a way to turn them into email subscribers. Think of your social media as top of your funnel. I always think of it this way in terms of awareness. Like, somebody stumbles upon a reel, let's say, who didn't know you from Adam, but if you've got them for like a quarter of a second, how can you turn that into 1 second? How can you turn that into, let's say, you're offering some freebie or something that they want, and boom, now they're on your email list, and now you can introduce yourself rather than just, I'm a pin on Pinterest or I'm a reel on Instagram. That you really want to think about moving people off of social media to a place where you can build that stronger relationship to them.
A great offer you can try to use on social media to convert those people over to your email list would be maybe creating unique content that you're only sharing out to your email list. So I know some food bloggers will share a few recipes that are only shared with their subscribers. My take on this, I would say, if you're the blogger, pick a recipe that is not going to be something that down the line you're going to want to put on your website, and then you're going to feel bad, like, oh, I told people this was just for my subscribers, but oh, I kind of want it on my website now. And don't pick one of those higher volume or really great keywords that should be on your site. Maybe there's something that you just want to make for fun and like no one's even looking for it, and it's like a family recipe, or maybe it's just, a variation that isn't popular. It has like so many ingredients in it and they're not, very common or something. I would make that be the free one you're giving to your email subscribers only. That way you're not missing out on really good blog content that could be working for you. But having a post to your feed that's something that looks delicious, saying, hey, if you want the recipe for this, it's only with my email list, go sign up and you'll get it. That could be a nice way to convert those followers.
So let's say, so what you would do is, let's say it's even one of these trending recipes, right? That's maybe not necessarily something that you would normally make, but that you do like the upside down pastry or something like that. And you go, hey, because it would be eye-catching and trending. And you would do like a post in your feed or a reel, and you're saying, hey, if you want, like, not available anywhere except to my email subscribers, sign up here. Like, make it feel scarce is what you're saying.
Exactly.
I love that idea. I love that. I think that, like, anybody who's listening to this who can just come up with that, like, that's an easy way versus, say, creating the ebook. Get people like excited about something, and all they have to do to get it is just put in their email address. Like, whoa, I really like, and you can deliver it just in the email.
Right away.
You don't even have to create a PDF for it.
Yeah, definitely not. You could just put it right in the email. I use Flowdesk to create my emails, and I really enjoy it. I think everything's, super visually appealing. And I just think as a creative, like, I really appreciate the different like types of templates and just having a visually appealing email structure. But you could just put it right in there, and then that way they don't have to download anything. Or you could even create something really quick in Canva, and then even have like a printable option or something, and they could click a button and see like a version they could print too.
What I like about what you're saying, I feel like you've given some really good ideas. For example, if it feels weird putting yourself out there, I love your idea of do a voiceover in a reel, let's say, or in a story or something like that. And then just have the subtitles, but at least then people are getting a taste of you. How can you, without, like, let's say, dancing or doing some big thing, how can you just put out pieces of who you are and tell your story through your blog, through your food, but where you go, oh my God, there's a real person there. Because
exactly, the power of audio is amazing.
It is. I feel that way with a podcast because I am a big consumer of podcasts, that people who like that I get in people's ears. I feel like, wow, that is so cool, because I feel like the people who I listen to, I trust, and they're like my friends. So I have all these friends. I perceive I'm their friend. And that's cool because, I feel this intimate connection to them. So what are ways that you can do that with your audience beyond just optimizing posts for SEO?
I'd say definitely getting your voice out there, going off of the email newsletter and kind of making that an important focus moving forward as AI continues to grow, and you might see a possible decline in the future, or, social media is harder for you to control. You can also insert either video clips or audio clips into your email list. I personally have not tried this yet, but I would really like to, and I've heard other people doing it. But then that way you could have an option for somebody, if they don't want to read your email, they can just listen to you reading it to them, which I think is so nice, because I would always rather listen to something or watch something than read, unfortunately, unless it's like a good book that I'm reading. So I think adding, that video content or audio content into your email list is great. And just kind of makes people have a stronger connection to you and feel like they really know you.
And one other place, if people are DMing you, sending them an audio reply is so powerful, because, oh my God, there's a real person there. So and by the way, you don't have to type it. It's like faster.
I love that you mentioned that, because I'm a huge user of voice memos, both on Instagram or even like just by texting people. I always just like record a little message to my friends, or that's a really great way to network with other people in your industry, who are other, people who have websites, people who have blogs. If you want to reach out to people, that's how I formed a lot of my really nice connections with other food bloggers, was by just initially reaching out, kind of just following each other and communicating with each other and commenting, but then really started sending those voice memos. Like, I have some really great friends now, and I feel like I've met them in real life, even though I haven't, because we send those voice messages all the time.
Okay, so the first time you're sending a voice message, a voice memo to a food blogger that, let's say, you have a girl crush on, right? You think they make amazing content. What does that sound? What do you say?
It definitely depends. I think sometimes I would reach out with even like questions. So if they were posting like a video of themselves on their stories, like talking about something they were doing, a setup they were doing for taking images or just whatever, I would just maybe respond to something like that. Or if I heard somebody else on a podcast and they were like, oh, you can find me here, and like definitely don't be afraid to reach out. Like I'm the same way. Like don't be afraid to reach out. You can send me a voice memo. I will listen to it and definitely send you one back. So that's another nice way to kind of introduce yourself. But I don't know. I just kind of put myself out there. I'm not, too shy or anything like that. So I'll just kind of say like, hey, I really like appreciate this, or I love what you've been sharing lately, or, I saw this and I wanted to definitely reach out to you and mention, I really enjoyed whatever it was you were doing, and kind of, open it up with, everyone loves compliments. So you can kind of open it up with a nice little compliment and maybe ask a question. How long have you been blogging? Or how'd you get into this? Or, hey, I saw that you worked with this company. Like, that's so amazing. Congratulations. Like things like that.
I love that. Okay, Marley, you have shared so many good nuggets. So if people want to reach out to you and send you a voice memo, or like follow you, find out kind of who you are, what you do, where should they go?
You can find me on Instagram at Baked Abundance, and my website is bakedabundance.com.
Wonderful. Well, I just have to say, this has been really fun. And I feel like you've shared a lot of best practices, a lot of things that I feel like, ooh, I want to go do some more like voice memos, or like, I just really like those little pieces of advice, pieces that I can just today incorporate in my business. So I just want to say thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
I hope you guys like this episode. I like talking to people who are really intentional about business building, about using systems, optimizing things, seeing what's working, and building off of that. Now, for you, if you are wanting to make money, notice I'm not even saying monetize, I am saying the words make money. Please start selling things, start putting your expertise out there and charging for it. It is easier than you think. It is so doable. If you're working on your blog, but you are not focused on selling, please get closer to the sale. Please get closer to the money. If this sounds interesting to you, you want to start selling digital products and you want to get on a call with me, please go to milotree.com/meet and we will meet. If you are ready to buy MiloTree cart, which we are selling this summer, for our lifetime deal price, this is going away. But if you buy it now, you'll be one of our founding members, and you can buy it for $349. We even have a 3-month payment plan. You just email me, Jillian@milotree.com, and I'll send you the link. Plus, we offer 30-day, no questions asked, money back guarantee. So there really is no risk to try it and to get good at putting yourself out there and selling stuff. And I am here to support you. Go to milotree.com and check it out. Come meet with me and we'll talk about your business. And I will see you here again next week.